I worked at that hotel for almost a year, and during all that time, I never knew there was a room on the 4th floor that officially didn't exist. No number, no record, no blueprint, nothing. Until one night, I saw a door standing at the end of a hallway where there was supposed to be a wall. I opened that door, and inside was a completely normal hotel room. A bed, a television, a suitcase. Someone was staying there. But the next morning, I discovered something that still bothers me. That room had been sealed for decades, and the photograph I received later was taken from inside that room, 3 days before I ever opened the door. I only found out the room existed because someone left the door open. If that hadn't happened, I probably would have worked at that hotel for another year without ever knowing it was there. And honestly, I wish I had never seen what was behind that door. I was working the night shift at an old hotel in a small mountain town. The hotel wasn't famous. It wasn't luxurious. It was the kind of place people stayed at because there were no better options nearby. Travelers passing through, construction workers, people looking for a cheap room for one night. The building itself was old, almost 100 years. The wooden floors creaked constantly. The pipes made strange noises during the night, and the heating system had a habit of turning on and off by itself. Everyone who worked there knew the building had problems, but nobody was afraid of it. At least, not until I started working nights. The night shift was usually quiet. After midnight, the lobby became almost completely empty. The lights were dimmed. The restaurant was closed. The only sounds were the elevator moving between floors and the occasional footsteps from guests returning late. Most nights, I stayed behind the front desk, watching security cameras. That was how I first noticed the 4th floor. Something about that floor always bothered me. Not because strange things happened there. Actually, because nothing happened there. There was one section of the 4th floor that never appeared correctly on the cameras. A long hallway near the end of the building. The cameras would show static, or a distorted image, or sometimes nothing at all. I asked the manager about it. He barely looked up. It's just old wiring. Don't worry about it. It's been like that for years. I believed him. Until one night. It was around 2:30 in the morning. I was sitting behind the desk, checking the camera feeds. The hotel was completely silent. Then I noticed something. A light. On the 4th floor, at the very end of the hallway. The strange thing was, there shouldn't have been a room there. I zoomed in. The image was blurry, distorted, but I could clearly see it. A door. An old wooden door, standing where no door should have been. At first, I assumed it was a storage room. Maybe something that wasn't listed on the hotel plans. But something bothered me. I had worked there almost a year. I knew that hallway. I had walked past it dozens of times, and that door had never been there. I took the elevator upstairs. The 4th floor was completely silent. The kind of silence that feels heavier at night. The hallway lights flickered slightly. I walked slowly toward the end, and there it was. The door, old wooden frame, brass handle. No room number. I looked around. Room 417. Room 418. Then nothing. The door was between the end of the hallway and the wall, a place where there shouldn't have been anything. I reached for the handle, then stopped. I don't know why. Something about that door felt wrong. Not scary, not dangerous. Just wrong. Like opening it meant crossing a line. Wasn't supposed to cross, but curiosity won. I turned the handle. The door opened. Inside was a hotel room, not a storage room, not an abandoned space. A normal hotel room. A bed, a lamp, a chair beside the window. Everything looked clean, recently used. The strangest thing was the television. It was on, playing quietly. I stepped inside and immediately noticed something. A suitcase beside the bed. Someone was staying there. I slowly stepped back outside. My first thought was simple. Maybe the room had been added recently. Maybe management forgot to update the records. So I went downstairs. I opened the hotel system. I searched every room number. Nothing. No room 419. No extra room. No hidden reservation. Nothing. I called the manager. He answered after several rings. When I explained what I found, there was a long silence. Then he asked, "Are you still on the 4th floor?" I said yes. Another pause. Then his voice changed. "Close the door and come back downstairs." It wasn't confusion.
What do you mean?
It wasn't curiosity.
There's no guest
It
registered
was
under that
fear.
name.
I went back upstairs, and when I reached the hallway, the door was still open. But the room had changed. The television was off. The suitcase was gone. The bed was perfectly made, like nobody had ever been there. I closed the door, and I didn't go near that hallway again for the rest of my shift. The next morning, I checked the building plans, and that's when I realized something. The room wasn't missing from the plans. It was never there. Not hidden. Not forgotten. Not incorrectly labeled. It simply did not exist. I looked through every document, every floor layout, every renovation record. Nothing. There was no space where that room should have been. No hallway extension. No extra door. No room 419. But I had stood inside it. I had touched the door. I had seen the bed. I had seen the television. I knew what I saw. I decided to ask one of the older employees, someone who had worked at the hotel for almost 20 years. At first, he avoided answering. Every time I mentioned the 4th floor, he changed the subject. But eventually, he looked at me and said, "Some doors in old buildings are better left alone." I thought he was joking. I even laughed, but he didn't. Then he told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. Years ago, before the hotel renovations, there had been an additional room on that floor, room 419, a real room. Guests stayed there. Reservations were made. Keys were issued. It was part of the hotel. Until the fire. A fire damaged part of the building decades earlier. After that, that section of the hotel was sealed. The hallway was rebuilt. The room was removed from official records. I looked at him. Why would they remove an entire room? He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Because nobody wanted to talk about what happened there." I felt a cold feeling in my stomach. "What happened?" He looked away. "I don't know." A few seconds passed. Then he added, "Or maybe nobody wanted anyone else to know." I asked him one more question. "Who was staying there after the fire?" He stared at me and quietly said, "Nobody." That answer bothered me more than anything else, because I wasn't asking who had lived there decades ago. I was asking who was inside that room the night I opened the door, and he was telling me, "Nobody." I quit 2 weeks later. I never went back to the 4th floor. I never looked at those cameras again. For a while, I tried to convince myself there was a normal explanation. Maybe someone had secretly accessed an old part of the building. Maybe management knew about it. Maybe the room was being used illegally. There had to be an answer. There always is. At least, that's what I wanted to believe, until 1 month later. I received a letter. No return address. No sender. No postmark I could identify. Inside, there was only one thing. A photograph. The photograph showed a room. A small hotel room. The angle was strange. It was taken from inside, looking toward the doorway. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I noticed the details. The old wooden frame. The brass handle. The same doorway. Room 419. My hand started shaking, because the photograph had been taken from inside the hidden room. The room that wasn't supposed to exist. But that wasn't the worst part. Standing in the doorway, looking into the room, was someone. Me. I was wearing the exact same uniform I wore the night I opened that door. Same shirt, same jacket, same employee badge. It was me, standing there, looking into the room. But I had never seen that photograph taken. I turned the picture over, and that's when I saw the date. 3 days before I ever started working at the hotel. I still don't know how that was possible. I don't know who took the picture. I don't know who was inside that room, and I don't know why. Someone wanted me to see it. But there is one thing I know. The room wasn't waiting for someone to discover it. It was waiting for me. Because the door wasn't accidentally left open that night. Someone opened it. Someone wanted me to walk inside. And sometimes, late at night, when I pass old buildings, I still look at the hallways. Not because I expect to find room 419 again, but because I know now. Some rooms don't disappear. They just wait until the right person finds them. If you were standing in that hallway and saw a door that wasn't supposed to exist, would you open it? Or would you walk away? Tell me what you would do in the comments. And if you enjoy stories where reality starts to break, subscribe. Because sometimes, the scariest places aren't the ones we find. They're the ones that find us. There's a specific kind of fear that only happens when your instincts realize something is wrong, before your brain does. That's exactly how room 214 felt. I was driving through Nevada during a business trip back in 2019, when exhaustion finally forced me to stop for the night. It was nearly 2 a.m. when I found the motel. The place looked half abandoned. Most of the lights outside were dead, except for a flickering vacancy sign buzzing softly in the dark. Even the parking lot felt strangely quiet. No highway noise, no insects, nothing, just wind. The receptionist barely looked at me while checking me in. Older guy, tired eyes. He slid the key across the desk and muttered, "Try not to go downstairs tonight." I laughed awkwardly, assuming it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. That should have been enough for me to leave. Instead, I took the key and went upstairs. Room 214 sat near the end of the second floor hallway. The second I stepped inside, I noticed the smell. Not mold, not smoke. Something damp, like wet carpet after heavy rain. I checked the bathroom first. Everything looked normal, but the room felt deeply uncomfortable, like walking into a conversation halfway through and realizing everyone suddenly stopped talking. Around 2:30 a.m., I started hearing noises beneath the floor. At first, it sounded like furniture scraping. Then came muffled voices. One male, one female. I remember lying completely still, trying to understand what they were saying. Every few seconds, the woman sounded more distressed. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The silence afterward felt wrong, too complete. That's when I noticed another sound. Very soft crying, directly beneath my bed. The crying would stop every time I moved, then continue the second I stayed still again. That detail alone made my chest tighten, because it felt intentional, like whoever was underneath knew I was listening. There shouldn't have been a room beneath mine. According to the motel layout, that space was storage, not a guest room. For almost 20 minutes, I just sat there, debating whether to ignore it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing when you're scared. Eventually, I grabbed my phone and stepped into the hallway. The downstairs corridor was almost completely dark, except for a dim red exit sign at the far end. And beneath that red light, I saw a door slightly open. I don't know why I walked toward it. Every instinct I had was telling me not to. But the crying started again. Quiet, wet, painful. Halfway down the hallway, the crying suddenly stopped. Then I heard whispering, too soft to understand. I froze, and that's when a woman's voice said, "Please don't let him hear you." The whisper sounded unbelievably close, like she was standing inches from the other side of the door. I backed away immediately. Then the door creaked open by itself. The room beyond it was completely dark, but I could still see the outline of someone sitting motionless on the floor. I turned and ran, back upstairs, so fast I nearly slipped. The entire time, I could hear something moving downstairs behind me. Not running, walking slowly. The next morning, I went straight to the front desk and asked the receptionist what was beneath room 214. He stared at me for several seconds, then quietly said, "There's no room under 214. I checked out immediately. A few days later, I searched the motel online. Turns out, there had been a fire there years earlier. A woman died, trapped inside a locked storage room, directly beneath room 214. But one detail still bothers me more than anything else. Witnesses said firefighters found her, sitting against the door, as if she'd been waiting for someone to open it. I still think about that night, and sometimes I wonder if she was waiting for me.